Hello and welcome back from KubeCon. I caught a little bit of a like sinus infection while I was over there, but I definitely wanted to come and do a little closeout of the amazing things that happened at KubeCon this year. So let's go ahead and share my screen. I remember last time we were having some kind of weird problem, so hopefully this time not so much problem. Let's see how it looks. That looks pretty good. Okay, browser. Browser looks good. All right, cool. We're doing good. Let's jump over to Cilium. Actually, pardon me. What an amazing team we had at KubeCon this year. We just had so many wonderful folks with us, and it was really an amazing thing to see all of the activity around KubeCon. So it happened once again. We started out at Rejects, which is a B-sides conference that happens before the show, and it's always an amazing one. One of my absolute favorite shows. With the second being obviously KubeCon. If you go to rejects.io, you can actually see it. So this will actually show you the full presentation schedule. And all of the talks are recorded. So, for example, what I wish I knew about container security was recorded. If we go to, I think it's YouTube, and we do a search for rejects, or cloud native rejects, I think it is over here. There we go. So it looks like they're not quite up yet, but probably really soon. Or maybe I'm just not looking in the right place yet. Oh, yeah, there you go. Cloud Native Rejects Europe, updated yesterday. Oh, yeah. So here are all of the talks, and you can see quite a few of them. This was a talk that I did with so these are great. This is a great talk. If you have a chance to check it out, I really think it's worth your time. It was a lot of fun to do there on Monday. And then Monday was also the contributor social. So I actually managed to spend some time with my fellow contributors to the open source project that is Kubernetes, and really had a wonderful time there. Lots of really great, hanging out with lots of great folks and seeing old friends that I haven't seen in forever. And I really agree with the statement right here. Like in real life, for the win. It's just been such an amazing thing. So, this last time KubeCon came to London was about 9 years ago, KubeCon 2016. Not only the first European edition, it also coincided with the release of Kubernetes 1.2, which introduced deployment and config map APIs so long ago. The rooms were smaller, the AV equipment was basic. And if you don't believe me, here's the agenda, the very minimalist. This was like KubeCon Europe 2016. Wow, that was the whole thing, you know, absolutely amazing. But since then, since 2016, Kubernetes has matured so much. The community was still kind of growing. We still weren't sure whether Kubernetes would kind of go to take over the world or not, but it was already something that we were actually doing pretty good with. The UK's vital contribution to Kubernetes. In last year's recap, I highlighted the work of French innovators in the cloud native space. My compatriot Solomon Hykes created Docker, without which we would have no Kubernetes, etc. This is actually all written by my good friend Nico. You've seen him here on the show before. In total, the UK is the third largest contributor to Kubernetes, according to GitHub data, and the UK-based Tim Bannister was the top individual contributor to Kubernetes over the past year. Alex Richardson, GitOps and Flux creator and former chair of the CNCF Technical Oversight Committee. Farrell Hung, former ecosystem VM at the CNCF and now at ARM. Matt Barker, CERT manager and co-creator of JetStack. Justin Cormack, Docker CTO, and Andrew Martin, Control Plane co-founder and CNCF Tag co-chair emeritus. And finally, our very own Liz Rice, former chair of the TOC and author of multiple books, including and many other achievements, is quite a list of UK-based individuals that have had an exceptional impact on the success of Kubernetes. Our friends at Open UK published a fantastic report into the UK's influence in Kubernetes, which is certainly worth a read. There's also Kat Cosgrove, who is like one of the release leads for quite a few of the releases and has done a bunch of work also in this space. With KubeCon being hosted in London, it was only natural that Liz played a prominent role throughout the event. You would have seen her share the Cilium and TetraCon project updates, including in front of some of the major London highlights. I have to say, if you haven't seen this video, it was my absolute favorite thing. It made me laugh. It was perfect. It was this is Liz doing BBC impression and just taking taking like the breaking news and everything. Absolutely hilarious. Definitely go check it out. The day two keynote with Katie Gamanji and Joseph Sandoval, really good friends, both of them. Joseph Sandoval is a friend of the project as well. He's worked at Adobe for quite a long time and is in charge of the entire way that Adobe goes and builds infrastructure. And Katie is one of my co-chairs, or one of the members of the CNCF TOC. She's done a ton of work there. She works at Apple. And so this was a great, great panel, just kind of talking about the challenges and the evolution as the CNCF celebrates its 10-year anniversary. So in this context, Liz is on the governing board and Katie is a member of the TOC. The CubeStronaut program was introduced last year to recognize individuals who have successfully passed every single CNCF Kubernetes certification, CKA, CKAD, CKS, KCNA, and KCSA. In London, the CNCF announced a higher sphere where only individuals with all 13 certifications and LFCS can ascend the Golden CubeStronaut program. Given the breadth of skills required to pass all exams, becoming a CubeStronaut is quite an achievement. It requires a rare blend of platform engineering, security, and networking skills. We can help you with one of those with the Cilium Certified Associate. Last year, we worked closely with the CNCF and led the technical development of the CCA. We particularly recommend our hands-on labs to build your practical knowledge of Cilium prior to the exam. With over 30,000 people having taken the lab since we started the program 3 years ago, we know that many of the successful CCA candidates have used them to prepare. I heard some attendees mention that a few talks during this week weren't technical enough. Not at CiliumCon, though. Liz and Neha from Microsoft dived into running Cilium for optimal performance and scale. Tem Elmani and Will also from Microsoft chatted a bit about dedicated IPAM. I've covered that here on the show previously as well. Really good stuff. And something I should try in my detailed Cilium IPAM guide. I'd also recommend G Research's Cilium at Scale presentation. I got to meet and hang out with Luigi Zhao and our own James Labrat quite a bit this week. Had a really wonderful time spending time with both of them. The AI hype continues to equally frustrate and excite. Last year, Lots of talks were kind of submitted in that way. And while last year's buzz centered around running LLMs on Kubernetes, this year's focus shifted more on agentic AI and MCP. Met plenty of folks that were slightly exasperated by the volume of AI content. That was also true of last year, though. It continues to kind of be a challenge. We've all become so used to working remotely, well, except for those who have been mandated back into the office, that KubeCon crowd can feel a bit daunting. Still, I genuinely love seeing people in person. It's such a blast. One of my favorite things for me personally at the show was really getting to spend time with people who who generally just never come to the U.S. You know, they stay over there in Europe. They don't really ever come to the U.S. And so this was a really great opportunity to spend some time with those folks. And I really, can't say enough about the opportunity to go do that. What you definitely can't do remotely is eat and party. And every year, our Hive Mind Mingle attracts leaders from the ecosystem, Cilium users, and isovalent customers. The latter were treated to a number of events such as the Customer Appreciation Breakfast, German Stem Stitch, and the Swiss Apero. We love looking after our customers. Even our canine friends came to enjoy the. Have you ever wondered, what Carla's dear pup looks like? This is him. Shiba Inu. I don't think he's into the camera thing so much, but he definitely loves Carla. The Hive Mind event was such an incredible event. It was in this venue that was like on the second floor, had a beautiful view of the bay. I was a little worried when I first showed up that it would be too far away for people to make it, and that was not the case. I walked in and I saw all of our folks, a bunch of folks from the community, folks from all over the community, everybody from Whitney to Kamal. We actually had a visit by Kelsey Hightower later in the evening. We just had pretty much everybody who is anybody shows up at that party and has a wonderful time, including my really good friend Mike Tugaron, who I very much enjoyed watching kind of hold court in different corners of the venue throughout the entire evening. But we mustn't ever give up on making the community inclusive. One of the things that we actually donated to, and worked on as well was the DEI community hub. There's lots of work happening there, and there was also a lot of good mentoring. So there was opportunity to do sort of like a speed dating mentoring situation where you could actually help people understand or talk through challenges around their career and other stuff that's coming up, and help kind of share your own insight into all of it. We have been proudly sponsoring it since 2022. Donia used our 5-minute keynote time to celebrate Cilium's success through the prism of its diversity of minds, contributors, and users. Then we have a show within a show. Our booth is a micro show with a solution showcase. We had a full track of book signings, live talks, and demos covering cluster mesh, Tetragon, Gateway API, Splunk integration, and the newest member of the isovalent platform, the isovalent load balancer. We've been teasing it for a little while, but the wait is nearly over. If you missed out on these demos, make sure you sign up for a webinar on the 29th of April where Jeremy and Raphael will take you through all the different cornerstones of the isovalent enterprise platform. Wishes for next year. The world is a slightly less turbulent place. Conferences still continue to be inclusive and welcoming. The Cilium Up and Running book is ready for you to read. The next major conferences you will find us at will be Red Hat Summit in Boston, May 19th through 22nd, and Cisco Live in San Diego, June 8th and through 12th. And I hope that we will all see you there. As a highlight for me, just real quick, one of my absolute favorite things seeing at this show, at the main event, was actually seeing Nico sign books, and just he has such a peaceful and present and kind presence, and watching him interact with everybody in the ecosystem, coming up and congratulating him for his work or asking questions, and I can't say enough about it. Nico does such a fantastic job. So thank you, Nico, for sharing that summary. A few things I also wanted to jump into real quick, as usual. So let's jump over to Cilium.io. Oh, one more thing before we jump off of the video completely. So this was the talk that I did, but there are many more talks that are already posted. Very awesome. So day 0, day 1, day 2, day 3 keynotes are all the way up. You can definitely check those out. But there'll definitely be quite a few more videos here coming up on the list. So definitely check those out. You'll be able to see all of the talks that came as part of the. Um, you'll be able to see all of the talks that came as part of the day 0 events. So if you missed anything from the here we go, playlist. So if you missed anything from any of the day 0 events, you'll be able to catch them all here. So definitely come check it out. You pull a playlist. So those are the highlights. Videos. So here's from ArgoCon. There's Cloud Native Telco Day. Yeah, looks like a bunch of these things are still coming up. They're not all the way up yet, but as soon as they do come up, you'll be able to see them here. Now, the last thing before we are done with this particular session is let's, as always, go over to CiliumIO newsletter for the archive. We'll jump into the March 25th one. Kubernetes announced it is moving away from IP tables to NF tables for better performance and scalability, but for me, it's kind of like watching history repeat itself. Cilium dropped IP tables 7 years ago, replacing kubeproxy entirely. The real question isn't if the ecosystem will evolve, it's when you want to get there. Do you want to wait years for that incremental change, or do you want to take advantage of the future now? This is the same point that my colleague Paul made in his post. eBPF isn't about speed. eBPF superpower isn't speed. It's that it allows you to program the kernel today rather than in 7 years. And being able to program the kernel often unlocks large performance improvements. Couple of interesting things. I found this article to be fascinating. This is a great article talking about improving eBPF tests in the Linux kernel. Pardon me. Anyway, I definitely recommend this article. It jumps into a number of different areas, which I think are pretty important when it comes to eBPF, including the safety of it and how to go about validating the changes to the kernel don't break the core functionality of eBPF. So if you've ever wondered how this is actually tested in the Linux kernel itself, definitely check out this article. It's a very good one. Oh, sorry. The link to the article BPF isn't about speed is here as well. And then inside Tetragon, how eBPF powers process lifecycle monitoring, tracking bandwidth usage. This is something that comes up pretty often. The eBPF file monitoring, high performance file access monitoring tool using eBPF captures real time file open events with process details. We built all of this into the framework that is Tetragon, but it's a thing that comes up pretty often because really when you start getting into container runtimes, your node, instead of having one file system like the root file system, can have hundreds of file systems. And how do you know which process is trying to actually make use of or make access to which file on which of those file systems. And so having access to eBPF really just enables that. It really changes the way that we think about that stuff, which is, I think, pretty darn cool. An agentless eBPF observability tool written in Go that deploys, manages, and detaches eBPF programs via SSH. Interesting. I haven't seen that one before. BPF Luga. All right. We have WArmor, our eBPF-based policy enforcer that runs WASM-compiled policies to secure workloads across Linux and Windows environments. Pretty cool. A port of Grende Bregg's eBPF profile.py application to Golang. Fast tracking your migration from Ingress to Gateway API, leveraging Ingress to Gateway API. We've had lots of talks about that in the past. Setting up Cilium on a Kubernetes cluster with Talos and Proxmox. Switching from Flannel to Cilium for enhanced networking. I submitted a discovery workshop, a fast track for Cilium for platform engineers. Lots of good stuff coming up. All right. Well, that's a summary of the news this week and of what happened last week at KubeCon. Can't say enough about how awesome it was to be there in London with all of your friends and all of the amazing folks and see all of those talks. I can't wait for them to be released, and then we'll make sure that we update with recordings of all of the talks that came that were recorded there at KubeCon. So I think that is everything I wanted to share, and I will see you next time, probably in a couple of weeks, and we'll go over some other fun stuff. I think one of my plans is actually to kind of revisit the OpenShift stuff. So I'll probably be revisiting that here live on the show. I hope you have a great weekend, and I hope everything is wonderful in wherever you are. See you next time.